Hello, good morning. It is me, and I am. It's the day of the coronation. No idea what the date is. 6th of May, May the 6th. Yep. And I am still a head teacher with ADHD and experience of childhood trauma and trying to survive in the world. Survived another week, which is good. Um, I think that last week I gave a bit of a kind of random philosophical wibbly wobbly. I don't know what. I'm a bit in that place this weekend, and there's a definite pattern of working really hard, pushing myself, and then getting to the weekend and feeling exhausted. But I think that there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that, as long as the pushing isn't really ridiculous. And it's not. I do work too much. I do work too much on weekends as well. But I do know that that is something that sort of comes with the territory. However, um, it's about kind of knowing, it's about keeping myself not tired enough to be able to make rational and sensible decisions and to be able to um, respond in ways that are kind and, yeah, just to be rested enough that I can function in a way that's not going to do any harm to others or to myself. I think that's it. So I think that idea of do no harm is not just about other people. It's also making sure that I'm living in a way that's not really doing harm to myself. And on the whole, yeah, I do. I sleep well now, which is really good. I think there was a period where I was going through a really difficult time at work and probably menopause or premenopause or whatever symptoms, and I wasn't sleeping, and that was horrific. And I know ADHD also, you know, has implications on sleep, so that wasn't good. And I am somebody, I think, luckily that can just that has kind of high levels of energy to be able to keep going, but that's not necessarily a positive thing because it's almost like where's that energy coming from and what sort of energy is it, and is it, talked about before about the nervous system, and if you're constantly on adrenaline and stress hormones, that has a long-term impact, so it's just about, I suppose, keeping an eye on all of those things. You can hear from my voice, and I know I'm tired. I feel really tired. Not helped by the fact probably that I went for a 10K run this morning because I'm supposed to be doing a 10K. I am doing a 10K in a few weeks' time with some friends. So I thought I'd better try and do one. I used to run a lot of 10Ks, and I did them in good times. And I'm not that sort of a runner anymore. When I run now, my joints hurt, and I sort of gave up running. But I'm doing this with friends. Only I've messed up because it was meant to be a weekend away with my friends, and a big sort of party weekend with the run, and then I've realised I'm actually going to see Harry Styles on the Saturday, and then I've got the run on the Sunday, but I'm sure I can do both, and that'll be fine. Executive function and planning, such a big struggle, but I don't think that is just my ADHD. I've always been. I mean, I'm actually amazing at choreographing, planning, and executing projects and things like that. It's just it takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of use of calendars and clear communication, but it's a struggle and it's a challenge and it's something that I really have to push myself to do. And I think then what happens in my life outside of work is I'm not good at it, and then I sort of let it all relax, and then it all just goes a bit to pot. So unless I use the family calendar or my husband and family tend to help, then that's where it's hard. And I suppose that's a big admission. That's my, I suppose my Achilles tendon or my weakness is I need other people to help me with the executive function bits that relate to me and my self-care. And I've been doing therapy on that recently, which is all about sort of why is that? Why is it that I can just sort of not care about myself and care about other people in a very real sense of, the basics of eating and um, exercise and not even that though, actually more just doing things that I enjoy. I'm still doing a lot of work on that because find it really hard to know what I enjoy, and then when I do things that I enjoy, finding it really hard not to feel guilty. And that's a hard habit to break. And there we go, Chicago song. Just this morning, it's really funny. What I've realised, I absolutely need to write a plan for this weekend. Otherwise, I will just work, and there is so much work to do that I will just work all weekend. And so what I've decided is I'm going to take today and tomorrow off work, and I'm going to work on the Monday that we have off. And I'm going to get things done, but I won't get them all done. But I'll do as much as I can. I feel anxiety even saying that, because I feel like, well, people might watch this and think, well, you should do more because you've got a whole weekend and you've got nothing planned. And that's kind of how I feel. But actually, that's the kind of, actually, I need to do things for me and for my family. And although I can say those things out loud, there's an anxiety inside me as I say it. As I say it, that I'm going to take time for me and my family and nice things. There's an anxiety, and that's really hard, but that's what I've been trying to work on. And actually, it's almost like I have to kind of make that pledge, because if I don't, I will burn out, and I will, my body does need to rest. I know that. And then I go into this whole thing of like, no, no, but there's people who live to 100 and they work really hard, and they, and there's these really high functioning people, and they get 48 hours into their day and they live to 100. But then there's always the other ones who, live to 60 and then don't live much longer. But it's about which one of those would I be? And the likelihood is I could be either. I could live to 100, or I could live to 60, and probably not much of it's going to be related to what I do. Although some of it could be, and I'm aware of that kind of whole need to look after myself. And I think it's really easy, if you see somebody massively overeating, and foods that are known to be unhealthy through science, you go, okay, stop it, otherwise you're going to die young. If you see people smoking, if you see people excessively drinking or taking substances which aren't good for you, then you kind of go, yeah, but actually the kind of the work, the pushing and the work, I suppose, yes, there's a lot of research now that it doesn't do you any good, but I suppose it's about working out what's right for me. And someone said to me this week, if I enjoy working on the weekends, then it's okay. And there's a bit of me that does, and it depends what it is. There's things that I absolutely hate doing, really boring reports, sitting at the computer. And actually, that's why, what I love is I could be with kids all day long, and solving those problems, working with families, working with people, no matter how hard. That is what I do love it, and I love it and I hate it, because this week I've had some things where I'm just like literally head in my hands thinking, I can't fix this because this is out with my control. And people, sometimes you can't control them, and if they are, you can't. But working with people, and working with people to get the best out of them, working with people to help them see that they've got this amazing potential, no matter what happened. And whatever's happened until today, they still have the ability to find that potential and to make different choices. That's the bit I love, whether it's the families I'm working with, whether it's the children, whether it's the colleagues. And then actually, yeah, to be fair, quite like sometimes sitting down and doing academic-y things as well. And but anyway, I don't know. I'm waffling on. The other thing hilariously this morning is I get up and I notice the sheets on the bed probably need changing, even though I haven't even thought about that. Suddenly there's a space, I think about it. I smell a smell and I think, oh, maybe that. So sensory stuff just comes in like this when I have a gap. And it's about going, wait a minute, just because I've smelt that smell, I don't need to deal with it now. Or just because, and that's hypervigilance and sensory hypervigilance. And this is another one of those random waffly things. One thing I love doing is writing poetry. And I just need to make some more time to do that. And I've been thinking about that whole thing of, would I love it if someone read my poems and gave me a publishing deal and I didn't have to do what I'm doing? And the answer is no. I would carry on what I'm doing. I'd just go, yay, I'm a head teacher and I'm a published poet, and isn't that cool? and I've been thinking a lot about fame and also acknowledgement, and that kind of, I get a lot of resentment because I'm like, oh, my name never gets mentioned in the way that other head teachers do. And then I'm like, oh, is that because I'm rubbish? Is that because, so there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot going on, isn't there? And the answer is just to keep breathing and to every morning do my yoga, which I think I've probably done yoga every morning for, I don't know how old I'm, 53, 30, 35 years. And even even if I'm like camping or something, or in a space where I can't, I've just found a way. And that is so important for me, that routine, that ritual, that calming, and that time to think, and that connection. And if you ask me what yoga I do every morning, I couldn't even tell you. And if I tried to do it now, I'd forget. It's just completely and utterly, my body just does it. I think it's a sun salutation. And there's something about poetry, something about writing, something about shaping words that helps me to make sense of the world, and something about rhyme and rhythm and just, yeah. And when I write poetry, I tend to just sit and write it on my phone very quickly, and I don't censor it that much. And listen to Michael Rosen saying how he kind of goes back to poems, but again, whether it's ADHD or whether it's a creative thing, it's almost like I just need to be in the moment and get it out. And when I was running this morning, and by the way, I think running is brilliant because I know it's brilliant because it's that right, left, and it gives my brain that time to kind of work out a lot of stuff. And I think it's a shame I can't run because actually I think running is really good for me, but I do a treadmill instead, which is also that left, right, which is really good. And I sort of half started writing a poem in my head, and then I was like, oh, I want to stop and write it down, but I couldn't. I can't remember, but it was kind of about my name in lights. That would be nice and would be right after the fights that I have had for years and years, to fight the fears that come from deep inside, the fear that comes from places wide and far away that were not mine, but yours, and from another time, the fears that maybe will go now. And let me take the time to stop and breathe and be and love and see those lights up there above for what they are and what they're not, and stop. And that's just like how I write poetry. I just go with it. I'm gonna go and watch the coronation because I think it's interesting. We did a thing yesterday at school and we watched a really fantastic video which talks about how the king's job is to take care of people, and I really like that idea, and that's what the children heard in the video. And then we listened and read Yertle the Turtle was king of the pond because that's about a different sort of king. And then I came home and my son said that we don't like Dr. Seuss anymore because he's all sorts of things. But actually, that's another one of those, well, maybe sometimes the art and the person have to be separated. Because if a message in a piece of art has resonance across generations, and then you can look at it critically and say, well, okay, the person that wrote it had, or maybe not, maybe we shouldn't actually allow the voices of people who did the wrong thing. But maybe that's for another day. So this is one of those days, so I'm going to go and shut my brain off, go and watch some stuff on the telly, go for a dog walk, not work today, not work tomorrow, and then do some work for school on Monday. And that is it for today. Take care, stay well, stay safe. If you've literally watched for 16 minutes, then thank you.